Hey everybody, how you doing? Happy Tuesday evening. My name is Manny Vitale, host of My Fight Our War and Manny Vitale's Wolfpack. And we're just kind of getting things situated here. This is such a disaster, man. I mean, right now, from what you guys see, I mean, I've had so many great compliments. It's like, man, studio, well, all you see is this and the logo or the backdrop. But, and it's funny too, because uh, when you think of these studios, and yeah, I mean, yeah, some of them are very, very nice. I mean, the professional setups and all that. But I remember when I first started doing interview shows, podcasts, and all that stuff. But even like the first news media when I did in Port Huron with one of the local stations in Port Huron, Port Huron, yeah, it's at Port Huron, and yeah, I go walk or I get this call that they want to interview me, and they gave me the address to the studio and this and or the it was the TV station, and I was like, wow, okay. And I'm driving, and for whatever reason, sometimes I mean, not even knowing about this, but you're thinking TV studio and this TV station, and the first I got a taste of this is when this was another lifetime ago when friends of mine back in the day had a radio show here locally in Detroit on 97.1, which is now a sports talk station that I love listening to. But before that, at 3 o'clock on, they had the Dominski and Doyle show. For those of you who listen to talk radio in Detroit back in the day, it was Jeff Dominski, Bill Doyle. The producer of the show's name was Bill Tortello, but he went by Beaver. The screener was Rudy DeSantis, and these are guys that I just listened to. And long story short, I ended up getting to know and be friends with them all. And one day, Beaver, the producer, Bill, said we were going to go to a hockey game. He got tickets through the station and to meet him there. And I was like, cool, man, get to see the station. I think it's in Southfield somewhere. And I remember it was just this little building, and it was just like, that's it. Then you walk in, and there's these little cubicles where like they had the sales department, and then the advertising department, and then this little room, and there are these couple microphones and these dudes sitting there. And I was like, oh, okay. So, needless to say, here you got it's a good thing that you don't have a shot here, because there's cables and wires and papers and snot rags all over the table, and phones and pens and that. So there, now that's 2-3 minutes of your life that you'll never get back. You're welcome. But yeah, today, I've been in the last couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks or so. But within the last week and a half or so, there's been a lot of messages I've been getting. And yeah, I know, like I said, we started the Wolfpack show as well, and I've been throwing that out there to get some feedback back and forth, and have people come on and start pushing that show as well as My Fighter War, to get people's voices heard. So with that, I've been having some people saying, well, we've heard some things about you had 6 weeks to live and you were in the hospital, and then something about a shooting. Did you have 6 weeks to live because of shooting, and then a stabbing, all these different things, because they're hearing bits and pieces. So these are people obviously who are just coming on, just new family members. And then a big jump within the last week or so. And of course, that was with the announcement of what me and Ian Bick are doing, forming our own show, co-hosting together. So that was a big push where some more people were coming on, starting to take notice and asking a lot more questions as well. And so I was thinking about it, and it's just like, well, I've told my story, but the thing is, I've told it on other people's shows. So that story and content is going out to their people who, that their followers, their members and all that. And I did, I think it was about a month or two, can't remember when it was exactly, that I did my first one with My Fight or War, but it was about a year and a half ago when I did the first one explaining why I started it. And talking with Dan and Donna from Hard Knocks and those guys, they're like, you need, people start joining every day. You're getting new people, and they have no idea who you are, what's going on, except for maybe word of mouth. And so it's good to let people know, hey, listen, this is what happened to me, and just to kind of maybe break the ice for other people, make them feel a little bit more comfortable, so they know a little bit more about your backstory. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We've had some guests come on, and appreciate everything. And we've got Krista Granger coming on tomorrow on our Wolfpack show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So please don't forget to check us out tomorrow. And also, we've got another show this Saturday that I'll be talking about more before tomorrow's show with me and Krista, as well as the rest of them are lined up for the next week and beyond. So please, if you have something regarding your personal story that you want to get out there, that you feel comfortable discussing, and you want to come on, hit me up, hit up OG on Messenger. Let us know, what it is you want to talk about, and we'll definitely get in touch with you, set up a time to get your show or get your story heard. We are trying to stick with people's stories to Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern. And so we'll go from there. But like I said, we have had had to do some rescheduling, which happens, with everyone's schedules and as busy as people are. And I get it. Last minute things come up. So I figured this would be a good time for, now that we have had that influx of people coming in, as well as a lot of the questions I've been getting on Messenger and stuff like that, just to kind of give you a little backstory on how My Fight or War came about, and to kind of clear up some things, because you know how it goes, man. You get, just like that game, you get 10 people in the line, and the first person says something to the second person, and then by the time you get to the 10th person, it's like, what? So that's kind of what's happening, because I've had people will hear that one part. The doctor said he had 6 weeks to live, and then someone will hear, yeah, his organ failure. Then you'll hear, well, yeah, from the stabbing. Then you hear shooting. So we're gonna kind of just kind of recap what my story, and then from basically the one show that I did when they aired it, it had the one in Port Huron that they did. It had Manny Vitale, host and creator of My Fight or War, from deathbed to My Fight or War. So, and I didn't even know that until all of a sudden it came out, and here they got the production with the editing and all this stuff. It was really neat. So I thought that was appropriate. So that's what we'll do. And by all means, please, if you questions, comments, and all that. Oh, that's right, man. Can't forget about Thing is in the house. There's Thing. And also, but just joining us as well is OG. Where's OG?
Over here.
There's OG. So you got OG on this side, and then Thing is over on the other side. So, and Wonder Dog Susie she's underneath here doing her thing. So the crowd's all here, man. So we'll get this started, but please, like I said, if there's some comments, OG's sitting here, she's going over all the comments coming in. Please feel free. And like I said, I'm not ignoring anyone. She's taking care of that. But please reach out. And you guys, we're family. That's what we do, man. And if something, maybe just like I say to all of you guys, don't ever think that your story is not worth hearing, man. No matter how intense or not it is, your story, your words, a small part of it could just make a difference in someone's life. I mean, it could be something that you would consider not even mentioning, could be huge. So please never assume, and reach out. But for me, first of all, My Fight or War, was a brainchild, that a gift from above. And I am not messing when I say that. My Fight Our War was created January the 9th, 2020. I almost said 2027.
Not yet.
Well, no, the year 27, but it was January the 9th of 2020. I was, well, actually, the date was the 8th of January, is when all of a sudden things just clicked. I was sitting at home, and, I have been thinking about doing something for quite a while, and I'll get to that backstory. But my Fight or War actually started on January 9th, 2023. And it started because I had many, many things happen in my life that I should not be here. I have been blessed. And a lot of times we'll hear that, man, you really, you've been blessed. You're here for a reason. And we all can relate to that in one way or another. But when I hear that and I start to tell my story, more than once, I've had people say, shit, dude, you have been blessed multiple times. And I truly have. And we'll begin into that as well. But mine, I started out with, the drinking and drugs and stuff like that. When I was a wee little lad, you hear some of these terrible, tragic stories of some people's childhood growing up, and everything from abuse, verbal, domestic, physical, and growing up in that type of environment. And then from there, being, maybe having drugs and violence and all that in your life 24/7. Then other broken marriages and stuff like that people say kind of contributed to things, and I get it. For me, I as well, when I was just a little dude, my ma and dad, my ma, God bless her, is a rock, mama bear warrior, got got us out of a very volatile situation. My biological dad, uh, uh, he was not a very good person. We'll just leave it at that. And the best thing that ever happened is she took a stance and knew that we had to get out of there, and we did. So that was a blessing. With that, I you hear, when you're a little guy or something like that, and you're being put in different situations, that people sometimes will think, well, that wasn't a stable, life, and for a little child. For me, me and my mom lived with relatives, and at one point, I lived with my aunt and uncle and my cousins for a while my mom would work her ass off. And during the riots in Detroit, we lived in an extremely bad area at the time. Well, at the time of the riot, everything was volatile. But for my protection, they had me staying with my aunt and uncle. And but the thing is, everywhere that I was with family and friends of the family. I mean, I was surrounded by nothing but love. So I was very blessed and very lucky that way. Now, as the years progressed, s- very normal childhood, man. Nothing extreme, nothing like, oh my God, no wonder you started drinking and doing shots by the time you were 4. No, but well, actually, looking back, it was, you know, as a lot of us little people remember, well, don't remember, but when you're teething, we all got whiskey back in the day. It's like, he's crying, he won't shut up. Give him a shot. Just wipe some whiskey on their gums. Um, that was the beginning. See that? Who knew? I got that taste at as little toddlers. Like, damn, this is good. And so growing up, man, like I said, sports all the way through grade school, junior high, high school, man. That was my thing, were sports, mainly baseball, hockey, and then between the two, hockey. And so as I started to progress through, and I'm an 80s child, I graduated in 83. And so we didn't have all these, the fentanyl and all that shit back then. Basically, back then, it was, smoking weed, and then cocaine, and then in the later 80s, 90s is when crack cocaine, and then everything else started tumbling in after that. Um, so growing up, I was blessed by being in sports. And a lot of my friends, you associate with what you're around. So a lot of my buddies, we were all concentrating on sports. I was very fortunate to excel in hockey, and I was playing with a lot of guys older than me, which was great. But then when you get to like 14, 15, 15, 16, and I'm playing hockey against guys 19, 20, 21. Well, after games, you're going out and they're slamming down some drinks. Well, here I am. Yeah, I'm 15, having a few pops and something like that, but nothing extreme, because I remember not, liking the taste too much. And, but I was with the team, so you do what you do. Um, as the years progressed into high school, it became a little bit more as far as the drinking. I was never really, anything besides just the drinking. I remember some of the guys that were smoking some weed. And for me, it was the two things. You start smoking dope, and I would laugh my ass off, which was kind of cool, funny as hell, or I'd just fall asleep and be like, well, that was fun. And then, of course, there was Taco Bell afterwards. So there was there was always that when the munchies hit. But, so as I got older, so for me, it wasn't this, by the grace of God, there was no pattern or issues from like a small child up where there were these issues. Looking back, at those days, when me and my cousins were looking at some of our pictures growing up from our first baby or our first birthday up, surrounded by family. So the table packed, cousins, family, aunts, uncles, mom, everyone. And then you look at the table, and there were those little tiny Pabst Blue Ribbon or Altus Falstaff bottles, and then the bottle of CC, and then overflowing cigarette or the ashtrays everywhere. And, but that was normal. That's how that's how we all were. We'd get to a party, you'd walk in the door, hey, how you doing? Here's a beer. You want to do a shot? That was just normal. As I did get older, like I said, the drinking started to increase a little more, but it wasn't even until after high school and into my late 20s where things started to kick in. And you don't think there's a problem. You never do. And by the time you think there's a problem, it's been around for a long time. And I remember the first one of the first interviews I did with Brad McLeod at Sober's Cool. I remember telling him, talking with people with issues with alcohol and drugs and addiction, that they say, well, I had a problem, and at maybe by the time I was 20, but by the time you acknowledge it, it's like you probably had issues 3 to 5 years prior to that. And you look at some of the things that people were saying and all that time, you're just like, oh, whatever. You're blowing it off as just, being people just nagging on you. But if they're saying stuff, they're saying it for a reason, before. And then there's always an excuse. There was like, well, I'm not drinking that much more. You drink, you're with me. You're drinking as much as I do. Or well, I'm not drinking as much as that person who's been pulled over 10 times. So that's our barometer. Oh, okay. So since I've only been pulled over once instead of 10 times, it's okay. Being pulled over once isn't okay, but we try to justify it. And then from there, well, I only spent a couple hours in jail to sober up. And so you try to justify things. And for me, it was the same. I did have some interaction with family at one point where there was like an intervention, man. And to be honest with you, it pissed me the hell off. And, you're sitting there, and that should be a sign. If you're getting that angry about family and friends coming together, and the main purpose is because they're concerned about something that you're doing that they are worried about that is harmful to you and others, and you're getting all pissed off about it, it's either two reasons. one, they are 100% wrong and mistaken. Everybody but you is wrong. And, or there is a problem. And 9 times out of 10, there's a problem. And so that's when things started to unhinge. And same thing, man. I started justifying things. It's like, well, you start having blackouts. Oh my God. And then it's like you start joking around with your buddies at the bar about, man, I got home last night. And then you sit there and you do the recap. What did we do again? And you're joking around about not remembering parts of the night. Well, when you're sitting there with your drunk buddies and shit, yeah, it is funny. But now you're looking at it, it's like, what the hell? That's part of your day, your night, your life you don't remember. And then at times, I mean, how many of us did the old look out the window? Okay, my truck's there, my car's there. And then you got to do well, it's not on the grass. And then you do the walk around to make sure it's not smashed up. I mean, and then that alone should be enough to tell you there's a problem. Nope. So, and that was the same. So I'm just like all you guys, man. And mine started to increase, probably going into my 30s. And there was a lot of things that happened. I was with Detroit Police for a while, then worked EMS. I've always loved that kind of wild side, and I never had a line I didn't want to not cross. And not only did I cross it, I went jumping past and through it and over it. And the addition with drugs and alcohol made it a lot more intense, as you guys know. Over the years, I've had a lot of. These hands have been busted so many times, and like I said, I got a plate under this eye from a shooting. I got a scar down the side of the face from being stabbed. Sepsis. Well, not that wasn't, but just like I said, a lot of injuries because of the violence, because of the drugs and alcohol, and it progressed. And with each progression was more denial, and more denial, and more fights with families and friends, and like I said, we just try to justify shit, and it just don't work. And that's what happened with me. There were, many times, like I said, between the family get-togethers, the arguments, and with the people that we care about, um, being pulled over, being taken to jail. I mean, here I am going, being put in jail, where once with the Detroit Police, I was taking prisoners, and here I am being hooked up and taken to the jail as a prisoner for DUI. Even during the interview with Dan and Donna on Hard Knocks, talking about that, we were kind of joking around, laughing, because now, by the grace of God, I can laugh about it because I'm still alive. But it ain't fucking funny, man. It's not funny. There's nothing funny about this. So, with that, and then, like I said, having a plate drilled into my face, still, thank God, by the grace of God, can see, well, I'm alive. That's, a blessing. Stabbed, all these things. And then you still keep going. Like, I remember with the interview with Dan from Hard Knocks, I'm like, yeah, man, I remember laying in triage after the shooting and thinking, all right, I know what's going to happen. I get out of this son bitch. I'm thinking payback and all that, instead of laying there thinking, I got my face being drilled and put a plate there to, drill my face back together. And I'm thinking about that instead of, holy shit. I mean, something's got to change in my life. And afterwards is when I got stabbed a year later in another confrontation, and I still didn't get the hint. All these things happen and they progress. There's a lot that little things that really aren't that poignant, but this is just to kind of give the feedback to what happened. And so basically, after that, obviously nothing changed except for things got worse. The drinking got well, obviously it damn near killed me. As the drinking, drugs started to become more relevant, and started basically taking over pretty much a daily basis. That's all that mattered. And to the point where I mean, a fifth and a half, up to 2/5 you try to guzzle down a day, man. Well, your body can only take so much, as we know. And for me, that's exactly what happened. And I remember sitting in, I was at my mom's house. I had to move in with them. I sold my house and got out of there. And unfortunately, my father was diagnosed with ALS. I moved in back there to help, take care of dad. And, and the whole time, still just drinking away. And, it was just a very shitty situation. And I remember, you know, like I said, there were so many issues and confrontations and arguments that I were caused by me in that the drinking and stuff between me and my mom that it makes me just disgusted with myself. The things that I said, um, and these are things that we've got to own up to. We got to own it. We can be sorry and all that stuff, but we got to accept that these are things that we did. And we can't make excuses saying, well, it's because you kept harping on me. And then that's what we're good at. It's always someone else's fault that we drink more. It's because of you getting in my, shit and giving me a hard time. And it's all this pressure. And if you didn't, nag on me so much, I wouldn't drink so much. That this isn't my fault. It's your fault. I mean, come on, man. And so that was me. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about me being one of you. And, it got to the point where, all of a sudden, one day sitting there at home, and a friend was over and said, walked up and looked at me and said, "Your eyes are yellow." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And I knew, besides being with being a police officer, I was also an EMT. So I have just enough knowledge and experience to be dangerous to myself as far as diagnosing and knowing different things. So I knew what was going on. And to kind of go backwards here in time, my brother, my best friend since fourth grade, Jerry, he died in my arms, literally in my arms at McLaren Hospital from organ failure, from drinking. This was quite a while ago that this happened. And I remember, and I'm sorry for going back and forth here, but there's there's a lot here to take in. And it's been a while since I told the story. And there's a lot of it is poignant because it all kind of fits together into this puzzle. And Jerry, uh, it was reliving what I saw happen to my brother. I remember getting a call saying, "Have you seen Jerry?" From another friend that he's not doing good. And because of my work schedules, I didn't get to see him for it was quite a while, a month or so on and off, if that. And I went over, I called him and I said, "What's going on, man?" And he didn't sound right. So he goes, I go, "Yeah, I'm gonna come back." And he goes, "No, no." So as soon as I hung up, I went right over there, walked in, went downstairs, and there's my brother sitting there in the dark. And, his abdomen was distended. And I remember when I turned the lights on, he was yellow. His eyes were yellow. His skin was I'm like, "Jerry, man, we got it." I knew what was going on and he knew what was going on. And, you know, we had a couple other friends there trying to help. And, here, like, "Listen, we got to get you to the hospital." And he said that he was going to go. He had an appointment with his dad as well, and they were going to look at him. Well, that didn't end up happening. So we went back over there, and now there's all of us sitting there with him. And my one friend, Jeff, said, "Did you tell Manny what's going on?" "No." "What's up, Jerry?" He goes, I'm pissing blood. He's hemorrhaging, internal bleeding. So I'm like, "We got to get you." And now he's starting to act a little incoherent. He was drifting. He was going into organ failure. His liver was failing. The enzymes were going into his brain. He was talking crazy shit. So we're like, listen, but he was still coherent enough where if we took him in, he could have signed himself out. And he knew that. So for some reason, it was like 3 days later, I think it was a Wednesday. He goes, I'll go on Wednesday. And I remember saying, Jerry, you're gonna die. You'll be done by then. And he goes, I know. And fast forward to what I said. I said, same thing. We got him to the hospital, and I think it was a week or so, if that he lasted. I remember they he had the doctors talking to me about his care because there were some issues, and he just told them to talk to me about what's going on. After they did his workup, the doctor called me into the hall, and I said, so basically, bottom line. And I remember, and it was a female doctor. She got, she was upset, and she said, there's nothing we could do. He's very, very sick, and he's got a matter of weeks. And that was it. There's my best friend, my brother. So I walked back in, and there he is looking at me. What'd she say, Manny? I said, well, she said, you're ugly, and quit hitting on her. And he got a little laugh out of it. And he goes, you know what? When I get out of here, he goes, I'm never going to drink again. He goes, I want to start working out with you. I want to start, I'm going to do this. And I'm looking at him. And it took everything for me to keep it together. And they, ended up having to do a test on him. He had these varices come into his throat. And, they said that putting him on a vent, it could possibly kill him. If they hit these varices, he could bleed to death. So, we're sitting in there waiting for him to do this. And so it's just me and him in there. And they finally came in and he said, okay, it's time. So I remember, just we were talking. I said, all right, brother. I go, I'm going to be here as soon as it's done. They'll come in here and I'll be here. I go, it's all going to be good. And said, all right, gave him a hug, gave him a kiss, and started to walk out. And before I hit the door, I stopped and I just turned around and he was just staring at me, just staring right at me. And it was like we both just locked eyes and all of a sudden he just said, I love you, brother. I said, I love you. And those are the last words Jerry ever said. He was on the vent and never came off. And it wasn't long after that we got a call, all of us friends, that we needed to get back to the hospital, that he's took a turn for the worst. We walked in and we're all around the bed and holding his hand, just saying our final words. And they had him on like a morphine drip. He wasn't conscious at this point. He was just laying there. And like I said, we were all around the bed. It was very peaceful. And I remember I was on his right side and I was like right there. I had my arm under his head and my hand, like just all of us in there. And, we're all saying what we wanted to say to Jerry. And I remember watching his carotid artery on the right side just pulsating. And it looked like it was going to just push right out of his skin. And then all of a sudden I started to hear the death rattle and I knew it was close. And I'm just watching and talking. And then all of a sudden it was just nothing. No more carotid artery, no more breathing. He was gone. And I was literally right in bed with him, all of us just crying. And that was it. And I remember what a terrible way to die. Fast forward to what I was just telling you about me being in the house with my yellow eyes. Me being told, Manny, you're going to die. Me saying, yeah, I know. You would think, seeing what I saw with my brother, that would have had some impact. It didn't. So that day, I, of course, went and got a bottle. And the next morning, I repeated the same thing. I remember going, in fact, I go to the same party store today, Nick's party store, man. And I remember that morning I walked in, but by this time I'm yellow from head to toe, not just my eyes. So within less than 24 hours, I went from a slight like yellow tinge in my eyes from to being yellow from head to toe. I got back to I don't even remember what happened except for making it to the parking lot and just guzzling as much bourbon as I could, as quick as I could. And I remember getting back to my ma's, and I remember being in bed and then getting up, and I don't even remember what I was saying. Next thing I remember, the EMS is there taking me to the hospital to Henry Ford Macomb. And from there, everything's pretty blurry. I was there for a very short time, like within less than hours, and they were like, "There's nothing we could do for him. We're sending him to Henry Ford, Maine. They could do more from there." Transported me. I was at Henry Ford, Maine for just under 30 days, and probably up almost half of it in ICU. And the whole time, blood work. I'm getting all of this stuff going on, and it's because I was in organ failure. My pancreas, kidneys, and liver were all shutting down, but they were still functioning. So, there's still hope. They're hoping that with whatever medication they could give, which there really isn't a lot, would kick in. Well, it got to the point where one morning I'm woken up. There was two specialists for organs, the organ specialists, this older gentleman and a younger female. And the older gentleman woke me up one morning, and he's like, "Hey, Manny, we got to talk." And he starts talking statistics and shit. Now here, my organs are failing, so I'm just like Jerry, man. I'm not thinking right. Plus, they had me on Dilaudid because my pancreatitis was so bad, and the pain was going through the roof. So they had me on that, which was making me dopey as hell. And he said, up until now, these last, almost a month that you've been here, you've been in organ failure. Um, Now, 6 out of 10 people like this don't make it. And I remember I started laughing. I freaking laughed at him. And I said, "Well, I'm glad I'm not one of those six." He goes, "No, you don't get it." He says, "Your situation, your numbers are worse than those six." And he just kind of looked at me and was like, "There's nothing we could do for you. And I'm sorry." And that was pretty much it. And he's sitting there looking at me, looking at him, looking at him, looking at me. And it's just like, I'm all alone in this room, me and him. And he lays this on me. And he gets up and leaves. So I'm like, what the fuck just happened here? And I remember just being, with my organ failure, I was barely staying awake, and plus the medication. And I remember just passing out. And I woke up a short time later to his associate, the younger female, was just a sweetheart standing there. And as soon as I saw her, things started to come back to me, and I was like, "Oh shit." And she said, "I know you saw my associate and he talked to you." As soon as she said that, I was just like, "Oh man." And I said, "So this is real, huh?" And she says, "Yes, it is." And I remember saying, "Please, there's got to be something you can do." And she actually started crying, and she came over, sat on the bed, and she goes, "I wish there was." She goes, "There's nothing we could do." And I just looked at her, and I remember saying, "How long do I have?" And she started crying even more. And she held my hand and she said, "You've got less than 6 weeks to live." And she said, "Hospice is taking over your care, and they're going to be with you the whole time." Uh, Hospice came in, which, talk about some strange conversations I've had in my life. I don't know many people who have had the same conversation that I've had and are still alive to talk about it and to repeat that conversation. Because when hospice is intervene and takes over your care, that's it. So they came in and they were basically telling me, we're going to have you on medication. You're going to be comfortable. You're not going to be in any pain. We'll be right there with you until you pass. Hell of a conversation to have. So we're sitting there talking, and then again, I'm just sitting in my room by myself, man. And then she's like, the doctor's like, "Do you want me to stay with you until your family gets here?" Because I had to call them and share that wonderful news with my family and friends that I'm going to be dead in less than 6 weeks. So I said no. So she left, and then I proceeded to grab my phone and call my mom, loved ones, to say, "You guys need to come in. I need to talk to you." That was, I don't know many of you who've had that conversation. I mean, and I pray to God none of you ever do, or, that's something that when you have that conversation, man, there is no coming back. So I realize how blessed I am. So mom, family, friends came in. I told them what was going on, which was met by, "What are you talking about?" It was disbelief, a lot of no, this isn't happening. This isn't true, until the doctors came in and said, "No, this is true. And there's nothing that can be done." I remember loved ones of my mom saying, "It's not up to them. It's up to God when it's your time, not theirs." So, they came in, they said, "We're going to be doing some blood work to transfer the records and everything over to hospice." And so they said it might take a day or two for everything to process. And they came in, they're taking blood. Next thing you know, they're coming back again and they're taking blood, but this time there's a few more doctors, which is kind of weird. The next day, come in, and now they're taking blood every couple hours instead of just like once or twice a day. They were coming in, it seemed like every two. It was just every time I opened my eyes, there was more doctors, more blood, and this ended up going on for 7 days. And I remember thinking every day, because they weren't sure. They said up to less than 6 weeks. I mean, that could have been overnight, that I faced my demise, man. And here, every time I'd look over or open my eyes, my room was full of doctors, all watching me, get blood taken and then asking me questions. Which the one that I really loved was, "How are you feeling?" "You fucking kidding me? How am I feeling?" "Well, you're going to be dead in 6 weeks." I go, "Well, for a guy who's going to be dead in 6 weeks, I guess not too bad." And still no one would say anything. It was, I think it was like 7 days, I believe, that of this going on. And by the last day, my room was full of doctors. And I'm looking around, and there, lo and behold, is Dr. Death at the foot of the bed, along with his female associate. And they're all in there talking, looking at me like I'm some type of exhibit. And Dr. Death, all of a sudden, look at that. She's looking at me, grabs my ankle, and starts smiling and kind of laughing and giggling. Well, that didn't go over real well with me. And I'm like, "You evil prick. You're freaking sending me home to die, and you're laughing at me." And he started laughing even more. And the female associate starts crying. She cried more than I didn't even cry. She was wonderful, man. She goes, "Manny," and she came over, sat down, she grabs my hand again, and she goes, "Manny, we are sending you home, but not to die. We're sending you home to live." She goes, "That's why we're all in here." She said, "We can't explain this except for the man upstairs, and you have been blessed yet again, because you've been in organ failure the whole time you've been here. They've just been getting worse and worse until the last 24 hours, your organs completely shut down. All of them: pancreas, kidneys, liver, stop functioning, no longer working, shut down." And she said, "There's no coming back from that. And she said, "And 6 weeks." She goes, "When I told you you had less than 6 weeks to live," she said, "we were thinking you had maybe 48 hours, if that." She said, "We just wanted to give you like the will to fight so you could say goodbye to your family and friends." And I'm sitting there and it's just like, what is going? I mean, here, 1 minute I'm woken up saying I'm going to be dead in less than 6 weeks. Then I turned into an exhibit in the hospital, and then being told, you're not going to die, you're going to live. And that, by the way, we didn't think you'd make it 48 hours. So for 7 days, I laid there thinking about how I'm going to die. I mean, that was 7 days that I'll never forget, and then all of a sudden, this miracle. So she said, we can't explain it, but your numbers for your kidney, pancreas, and liver they started showing activity, and not only activity, all started coming back and stabilizing within normal limits. Pancreas, kidneys, liver, normal limits after turning yellow, after complete organ failure and shutting down. My organs all came back functioning at normal limits. I was born and raised Catholic. I've always had a strong faith. I've never been, Bible pusher going. I know that in the Bible, there's a cover on top and bottom and pages, man. That's about it. But I've always had my faith. And that right there, between the shooting, between the stabbing, I had sepsis that from a surgery gone bad. I had another surgery, both my lungs filled with blood. My appendix burst. I had an umbilical hernia that got twisted. All these things, and on top of that, complete organ failure, and I'm still here. And so I do know about being blessed, and so that's that's my story as far as how from deathbed now to progress from that. A lot of people thought that, man, you know what, you must have started my fight or war the minute you got out of that hospital. Nope, I didn't do a thing for 3 years. I knew that I wanted to do something. And don't forget, this was 2020, man. There was a thing called COVID that shut the world down. So that uh, when that happened, and I found out I was going to live, they're like, you need intensive rehab therapy counseling 24/7, 7 days a week, all of this stuff. You need to do this, this, and this. Well, that's fine and all, but as I said, when I went to these places, as soon as I got out of there, the world was shut down. COVID shut the world down. So when I went there, they're like, there's nothing we can do, man. We're closed. If you have any suicidal issues, if you have any harmful thoughts or something like that, go to ER. That was my counseling. So not only by the grace of God am I still alive after all that, I never had any counseling. I never had anything. I never had any withdrawal symptoms. I never had any cravings. I never had any counseling as far as programs, recovery program, nothing. Not because it wasn't there. They were all there, but they just weren't available because of COVID. And I've never had any urges. It's like I've never tasted or tried alcohol or drugs in my life. It's just unbelievable that that happened without any type of support from anybody. And so this is truly a blessing, man. So, for that to happen on top of everything else is such a blessing. But then like I said, I always knew that I wanted to share this message and this feeling of we could do anything. Anything is possible, man. And, it's still 3 years with these intentions. And see, that was Manny, that was Gunner, that was the MO, man. It's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this, this, and this tomorrow. And then no one would say anything. And I do nothing. And, that's what happened, man, for 3 years until January 8th of 2020. That night, I got up, sat in the kitchen and sat at that table. And I remember this overwhelming just feeling of this is it. I'm doing something. I'm going to finally put action to these words. And I grabbed that paper and pen. I'm like, I'm going to start a support group, but I always knew I wanted it was a family, not group, not a clinical situation. It's family. And I have no idea what I'm doing as far as IT shit, Facebook, your social media, none, zero. Videos, live stream, podcast, zero. I didn't care. And I was 100% on my own. I'm like, sink or swim. I'm going to just, let it rip and see what happens. Well, I remember sitting there thinking, I don't even know the first step. And I'm like, well, I guess you need a name. So I'm not joking about this. Everything happened in less than 10 minutes, less than 10. Sitting there with my pen and paper, kind of like I am now, my little notepad. And I'm like, I gotta have a name, to put down. And all of a sudden I'm looking around and as you can see, I love wolves, the Wolfpack mentality, the whole thing about the way they take care of each other. So I'm thinking about that. And all of a sudden I just wrote my fight, our war, my fight, our war, not a clue. I'm just looking at it. I'm like, what the? And the more I looked at it, it's like, wait a minute, my fight, our war. Okay, my fight, mine was mainly, with the drinking and all that. Or so the alcohol, my fight. That was my fight. Someone else might be heroin. That's their fight. Someone else might be meth. That's their fight. So, okay, we all have our own fight. Our war is addiction. So it's my fight, but it's our war, and the whole is addiction. And I was like, man, I looked up. I'm like, man, you're good. My fight, our war. And then if that wasn't enough, I and I still have the paper hanging on the cross, taped on the cross in my bedroom to this day. I look at that piece of paper on that cross every morning and every night. And I pray to that every morning and every night. So I'm looking at this, and all of a sudden I wrote, join our pack. You'll never be alone. It's right behind me. You can't really see it there. You can kind of see, as for our tagline. And my fight, our war was born January 9th, 2023. And here we are now. And, the blessings, the love, the family, the support, the motivation, it's all you guys, man. And, we are all in this together. And I remember when I started this, I remember having zero experience, like I said, in every aspect of this, zero. But I didn't care because I knew that there was something stronger going on here. And and I followed it, and I believe that to this moment. And I remember saying, listen, I have absolutely no experience as far as any education and counseling, any type of life coach, motivational speaker, public speaking, social media, zero. Any type of counseling, zero. But I said from day one, I'm one of you, and this family, and I was so animate about, because you have to put like what type of organization group are you. And okay, we're for addiction recovery, so for that's what I had to put it under, my fight, our war. So when you go to recovery support, bam, there it is. But I remember putting that we are a family, and that's how I wanted all of us to refer to each other. And it took off. All of a sudden, within like a day or two, all of a sudden there's like 15 members. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. There's 15 members. And like those 15, some of them are still here today. And the original people, and the original family that have been here through thick and thin, good and bad. And the support and love and motivation is, just, it's incredible, incredible. And it's just grown. And so, I've said that just let me know what I can do better. Let me know if I, You give me the feedback so I could, just keep going forward. Little did I know that first video, and it's still somewhere in you can find it. My very first video I did, I was walking around the river by where I used to live, and I remember just taking a walk, and all of a sudden I just sat down, and I, I've never done a video. You never do anything till that first time. And as far as any type of public speaking or any type of interviews, hell no. I mean, I didn't want to talk to myself as far as getting in front of people, and as my nerves, I would get so anxious and anxiety, public speaking, hell no. Little did I know that day I'd be doing what I'm doing now. And this is just something that this is just the beginning. Not only do we have My Fight Our War, we also have the other page and podcast or show, Manny Vitale's Wolfpack, for people to discuss anything that they want as well. Now, besides that as well, as I hope you guys heard, branching out, myself and my brother Ian Bick are co-hosting a show together that we're getting together that we are in the very beginning process of doing. So here, from not having a clue to all of this in less than 2 years, there are blessings and they happen every day. And I know that I've been given many and they're not done yet. And the thing is with blessings, you share them. And I've been doing that since the first one, and I'm not going to stop. And none of this could be possible without all of you guys, man. And, this is, I hope that, people that didn't know what was going on, there's still a lot of little things that I didn't go over. But I wanted to get to the main point, which was, the main issues as far as the addiction, as far as the hospital, as far as everything, the motivation behind, behind wanting to do what I'm doing now. And everyone has different reasons for doing different things. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with any of them. If you want to do something and you believe in what you're doing, I don't care what it is. Do it, and don't let anyone discourage you. Don't let anyone's negative words or comments affect your day, your thoughts. No, screw that. We are in charge of our lives. For the longest time, man, we let other things dictate what we were going to do, when we were going to do it, how we were going to do it. And that was drugs and alcohol. Now we are in charge. And as far as addiction, as I said, man, we'll go toe to toe, nose to nose with addiction, and we will kick its ass every time. We may get hit, we might get sucker punched, but you know what? We'll get back up and we'll bitch slap its ass back to hell where it belongs. So My Fight Our War ain't going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. OG, all of us aren't going anywhere. We are growing, and we're reaching out to every other organization and family that we could assist and be part of, which is an honor and a blessing to be with each and every one of you guys. And you guys know who you are, that I've been on with, and you've been on, and the relationships we formed. This is a family. We all have different names, different, members, different, all that, but we are one family, man. We are a fraternity of badasses. We are a fraternity of warriors, champions that have taken control over our lives. We got up when people thought we wouldn't. We kept pushing forward when people thought we wouldn't. And here we are. So we get to share that with each other. Unfortunately, a lot of us have family and friends that are no longer here. So as far as me, and a lot of the people, we owe it to them to be their voices. So their names and their voices and their stories are never forgotten. So first and foremost, we have to be the best we can be, and we got to take care of ourselves, or else we're no good to anybody. But that being said, then I feel it's our obligation to take these blessings and share it with the world. And so that's my mission. And I know from the feedback that I got from you incredible people, my family members, who I love you guys. And that's another thing. You hear me say that all the time. And yeah, some people are like, oh yeah, you're just trying to say the right thing. I don't care what other people think. I I know how I feel about my situation, my story, and I can't ever say I know how anyone else's feels, about anything. But your support and belief and me, what I'm doing and what we are doing as a family, is second to none. So I appreciate you guys, hanging out and hearing my story and hearing our story of how our family started and why. And again, for all the Jerrys that are no longer with us, for the Kevin Princes who are no longer with us, for all the ones who are no longer here, we are here, and we will not let your voice be silenced. So, thanks, guys, for. I'll just use a sleeve. Thank you guys for listening, for your support. Please don't ever doubt yourself. You know, it's okay to stumble. It's okay to fall. It's not okay to stay down. And that's why we're here. We won't let you stay down. So, you guys have a great night. And please, if you want your story told and if you're feeling up to it, please reach out. Reach out to me, reach out to OG, hit us up on Messenger. We'll get you on. If you can't do Sunday at 6, we'll make it happen. Our stories are important enough. We'll make it any day we can to make your story happen. If it's something other than that, please reach out and we'll put you on the Wolfpack show, and we'll go from there. So you guys have a great night. Thank you very much, and we're gonna end this for tonight. But please don't forget about tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time with me and Krista from Sober Patrol. We are going to be going live on the Wolfpack, and it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be on the Wolfpack. It's not on my Fight or War, so God knows what we're going to be discussing, but I guarantee you don't want to miss it. So, again, thank you guys. Have a great night. I love you. Remember to keep fighting a good fight. And thing is right there. OG. Anything?
Tune in tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, I think, right?
Yeah. 7.
All right. So thanks again, guys. I love you. Keep fighting a good fight.